I am a small town boy. For those of you who didn't know, I grew up in a tiny little, what is now a farming community called Nigel. Years back, it used to be one of the largest gold mines in and around the area, believe it or not. And once that gold ran dry, people started realizing that the soil in and around this tiny little community is very rich and good for agriculture. So if you look at an aerial map of this area today, there is farmland spread literally all around us. And it was a great way to grow up, life of the outdoors really. So I think my love for wildlife started growing on me a lot sooner than I actually realized in the past years. Because growing up in areas like Nigel, this little farming community, my folks obviously made friends with people who lived out on farms. So I was introduced to the outdoors on a regular basis from a young age. Got to do some horse riding growing up, got to spend time with friends at school who all were farm boys as well, as in South Africa we'd refer to as a boerseun, a boer boy. So spending a lot of time with my mates at school, on their farms, exploring, going on outings in and around Nigel, Heidelberg and the surrounding areas, climbing hills and mountains. So I think the love for outdoors and nature started quite young. And I think where it really kind of hit home is in my studies. I went to go and study nature conservation, and we got to go and experience and witness and see some incredible places in and around South Africa. And I think it really hit home there. I got to meet a good bunch of mates during this course as well, but during our practical year, a lot of my work, the farm I went to go and work on, was hands-on work with wild animals. And I was involved in lion darting, I was involved in cheetah darting, and buffalo capture. There was quite a few fun things that I got to do that involved wildlife. So I think the wildlife side of things really sank in there. And then I think the thing that really set my path into the guiding side of things is my father had bought shares in a game farm in an area called Valwater, and obviously hands-on with animals there as well, close encounters, doing walks out there every single day, feeding animals in troughs in front of the house was always high up on the highlights list. And then obviously guiding my father's friends and our family around this area, I was kind of, if I may, forced into loving nature and wildlife thanks to my parents who introduced me to these areas. And then my guide training started in 2013. Got to see some incredible destinations as well, daily encounters with some incredible wildlife. And one thing led to another. I mean, yes, we got to sleep out on rocks in the middle of a Big 5 game reserve, which was probably one of the coolest experiences of all time. And then waking up one morning, I had this reaction, this is really who I am and what I want to do. But then in those early days of guiding, wildlife was my passion. I did a lot of reading and studying up on animal behavior in order to provide the best possible guided experience for my guests. So photography only grew on me properly much later on. I did photograph during my training years and prior to that as well, but it was just a kind of snap that and capture the moment type scene and moment. But my photography and the love for it and the passion, and when I really started developing proper skills, was when I started guiding at Sabi Private Game Reserve, as there were like-minded people around. A lot of guides were photographing and I was just influenced, and I went for it, and it has brought me where I am today. Coming to think of it, it's quite a while. It's been a lot longer than I actually thought. But I've been a qualified field guide for 7 years, and thanks to my practical year in studies, my field training or field guide training period, if you want to include those years as well, I've been in the industry for 9 years. Okay, this is a a tough one to answer. There are so many cool jobs I can see myself thriving in and doing really well in, but I have, since I can remember, been an adrenaline junkie. I have loved two wheels or being on two wheels, and I've always been an absolute hooligan on two wheels. And if I recall correctly, the first time I ever jumped onto a motorcycle, I was about 6 years old, and I crashed. It was a mate's motorcycle, a little PV50, this little scrambler, a little dirt bike, and I had crashed just before my folks had picked me up. And after I'd fallen, I ran straight to my dad and I said, "Dad, I want something like this. I want that thing." And a couple of weeks later, that exact motorcycle that I crashed on was standing in my folks' house. And yeah, since then I've always been on two wheels. I love speed, I love the thrill, and it's just who I am and what I've always truly loved doing. I still ride today. So if I had to say where or what I can see myself doing today if I wasn't where I am today, I probably would have been a MotoGP racer for sure, and I'm pretty sure I would have done fairly well. MotoGP all the way. Alright, there are many to choose from, but if I had to pin it down to one, it might, and my reason for it might come down to a pretty selfish one, just because I know I would be able to learn and be inspired so much by a man whose face is probably one of the most recognized, whose voice is probably the most recognized, as well as his name, David Attenborough. Why would you not want to go on a safari with a man who knows so much about the natural world, and whose passion just automatically flows out of him? So definitely David Attenborough would be the safari guest I would want to host one day, and truly just because I would love to be inspired by him, I would love to learn from him, and I'm pretty sure he's a fun guy behind the scenes as well. Food, one of my favorites. This is like an impossible question to answer because there's so much good food. But if I had to pin it down, I would probably go with a pre-starter snack being dried meat biltong or beef jerky. That stuff's amazing, so I'd really enjoy some of that. Moving on to my starter, it will be a full massive platter of sushi. All sorts, all types, big, small, any sushi, but a big platter and a big starter. Main course, yes, probably go Italian, maybe have a pizza, any pizza, and the biggest one you can find as well. During my dinner, 2 drinks of choice. One would be water, just to help wash down all the junk I'm throwing down my throat, but then the other drink would probably anything with amarula. I mean, that stuff is heavenly. So it could be warm, it could be cold, anything with amarula I'd be happy with. Even just neat amarula, I'll drink the whole bottle of amarula, because that stuff is just absolutely incredible. Dessert, moving on to something even more rich than the amarula would be, is Lindt. Chocolate Factory had, and there used to be a Lindt shop in Design Quarter, and I had this ice cream for the very first time. I'm a big ice cream fan. I had this ice cream for the very first time in the Design Quarter, and this was a choc caramel ice cream, and it was, I've never ever had such a yummy ice cream in my life. When I went back down again, and I like forced myself for a year never to go back there because I knew it would become a habit. I went back there and the shop was closing, so they'd obviously got rid of all the ice cream machines, which I was extremely upset about. And if I now want one of those ice creams, I have to go down to Cape Town, which is a bit of a bummer. So ice cream for dessert, Lindt choc caramel ice cream, and then a post dessert snack, I would probably go with Aero Mint. I mean, that chocolate is just so creamy and so smooth and delightful. So that would probably be a biggie, but that would be my last meal for sure. A it may be guests that I will not share my last meal with, that's for sure. I mean, my last meal is my last meal, come on. But I'm always an individual who is up for a good laugh. I love comedy, I love stand-up comedy, anything that'll make me laugh, I love. I really enjoy some good humor. So if I had to choose 4 dinner guests, I would probably go the comedian route. So some of the world's most well-known and most successful and funniest stand-up comedians. I'd probably go George Carlin, Chris Rock. Kevin Hart always goes hand in hand with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so I'm pretty sure that counts as one, so the 2 of them. And then to bring the South African humor into it, I would definitely have to go with our local superstar, who is now based in the USA on The Daily Show, Trevor Noah. That man is hilarious. And I think the 4 of them would be a pretty good, 4, 5, but Kevin and Dwayne are 1, so the 4 of them would be a good mix, and I think it would be an extremely entertaining evening. And seeing that most of them are on a pretty strict eating plan to keep that figure of theirs, they probably wouldn't want to steal my last meal, which is a good thing, unless it's Dwayne's cheat day, because that oak eats like a baby dinosaur. It's unbelievable. But yeah, the 4/5 of them would definitely be my dinner guests. Wow, these questions are quite impossible to answer, really. Favorite destination would probably the Amboseli. It's definitely my favorite African destination, and the reason for it is just due to obviously the elephant, the mass herds of elephants is a standout. It is incredible, but the diversity in wildlife. I mean, there's so much to see there, from big cats to small cats, big elephants to baby hippo and baby elephants. There's bird life everywhere, and that's the variety in vegetation. I mean, backdrop of Mount Kilimanjaro, the open wet marshes, forever green marshes, the open moon-like lake bed of Amboseli is just phenomenal. And then the surprises that pop up out of that place. I mean, sometimes the colors there are just phenomenal. I remember one day we sat with over 300 elephants, a double rainbow, and they all just came strolling towards us under this rainbow. It's a mad destination, photographically inclined or not. If you just want to experience a great safari in Africa, you're going to get it in Amboseli. That place is just mind-blowing. Favorite species to photograph? I mean, all of them, they're all great, and I have a pro and con to each species that I photograph, because they're all fun, they're all a challenge. But I think one that really has embedded itself deep into my heart is one that lives high up in the rainforests. And this is one of the reasons why I love photographing them so much, is that journey walking through Buwindi impenetrable forest, this lush green. It feels like you're in a Tarzan scene with all these massive trees. There's beauty everywhere, bird calls, animals calling. It's just such a wild and incredible experience walking through these forests. And then after this pretty strenuous trek up into these mountains, you then get to sit with mountain gorilla. And I mean, their similarities to us as humans is I think something that I connect with quite well there. But just that they are fascinating creatures. They're massive, they're huge, and yet so timid. They accept your presence there, and they at times accept you as one of them. They come hold on to you, they touch you, they smell you, and they're just so interested in the presence of humans. And I think that connection that you can create with these animals is truly phenomenal. So mountain gorilla, for many reasons, is my favorite animal or species to photograph. Okay, one word. It's now week 7 of this lockdown, and I have many words I can use to describe how I feel and what my thoughts are about this particular scenario, but I probably, if I had to pin it down to one word, it's a good South African word, and that is gatvol. I'm so gatvol. So for those of you who don't know, G-A-T-V-O-L, go search it on Google. Gatvol is the Afrikaans word. Just check it out. That's my word. Gatvol. Thanks guys, this was fun. Have a great one. Bye bye.